Hi, I'm Jeffrey, and this is Life with a Pipe. Thanks for joining me again today. I don't have a pipe in my hands right now because, well, this episode has been a long time in coming, and I am super excited to share this with you. Back in January, I recorded an episode that was titled Burley Morning Pipe Showdown 2023, 2024, 2025 versus 2026. Papa Bear, Silly Papa Bear, Gary, sent me some of that tobacco from each of those years, asking if I could tell a difference. For him, the 2023 was his top tier blend. He loves smoking it. And the 2024, 2025, and definitely the 2026 did not agree with him. He couldn't smoke it anymore comfortably. And I was up for the challenge, and I've really enjoyed it. I've smoked through the years quite a bit since then. I do have a favorite, and I'll share that towards the end of this video. But that same day, during that video, I mentioned that I had the idea of pressing the Burley Morning Pipe tobacco to see if it would change any. And particularly, I was going to send some to Gary to see if it changed the smoking qualities for him at all. And I sent that out to him last week. I was hoping it would reach him before Muletown, but it did not. It was a day late, thanks to USPS. Leave it to them to be late, right? Anyway, he has it in hand. I don't know if he's tried it yet, so I wanted to get this video done, get it up, so he could hear my thoughts on it, and hopefully that won't influence him one way or the other. I'm really curious to see if pressing it made it palatable for him. So I am going to walk you through this process. This is going to be a fairly long video, and I will add chapters in the show notes, so you can skip around as you'd like. So I'm going to walk you through setting up the pressing. We'll open the press together, and then we'll come back here today to smoke it together. So the pressing started on January 18th. I posted that video on January 20th. Then I opened the press on February 7th, and everything has been sitting in these baggies right here since January 7th, and today is Saturday the 14th. So it's had a lot of time to rest, and I'm super excited to try this. So hang out with me, light up a pipe, and enjoy. All right, as I mentioned in a previous video about comparing 4 different ages and recipes, apparently, or component pieces, I thought it'd be a great idea to try pressing these and see how they came out. See if the varying Virginia components would come across differently in a pressed form. So I have 3 mini presses. These are known as pollen presses. They are great for small trial batches. And because I don't have a 4th one, I'm going to have to use a larger standard spaghetti press. But we're going to make everything the same weight so that we have as close to the same product as we possibly can amongst these. So I'm just going to record this process, and then we'll let this marinate for 7 to 14 days, and then we'll have something to compare. right, here we are. It has been 3 weeks. These were put in the press on January 18th. I have the 2023 Burley Morning Pipe, 2024, 2025, and the 2026. We're going to open these up today. I'm going to put them in some plastic bags, and they're going to sit for about a week before I test them, smoke them, see what we think. So join me while I open these. Start with the 2023. So we're going to let the pressure off these. Open the bottom. Look at that moisture. So I would come out and crank on these. Every few days. I have not been babying these at all. Just when I remember. So this is what you get when you press aromatics. You get quite a bit of moisture that comes out of these. Very nice looking plug. You can smell the cocoa and the chocolate on that. A little stuck to the top there. All right, just so I can keep track of these, we'll put these in their bags here. I'll put the 2023 tape with it. Here we go. Next, 2024. Take the pressure off. I'm very curious what these will be like in comparison to the loose. And again, I plan on sharing these with Gary so he can see if the pressing experience made any difference with the way he experiences them. Be very interested to know his thoughts. All right, that's the 2024. Here's the 2025. Let some pressure off. The nice thing about these little ones compared to the spaghetti presses is that the spaghetti presses have a liner, and you got to be really careful not to push the liner out with the plug. Whereas with these, you really don't have that concern. There we go, nice. So again, remember, we put wax paper over these caps. And then I just put these in a bowl of hot water with some soap, and then use a bottle brush to clean these on the inside so that they're ready for the next one. All right, I will spend time and mark these a little better. I'm just using these quick pieces of tape to keep track of it here on camera, so I don't have to do any cuts. Look at that juicy one. That's a very little flat pressing there. Just very different experience. Pull off the wax paper here, see if that makes a difference. So this is the 2026, and this is the one with the different recipe, the old recipe. And it is much goopier than the others. Wow. Much goopier. You can see the wetness off that. All right. I'm going to wash my hands because that's a little intense. Smells really good though. All right. Since I knew that was going to be a bigger round, different shaped plug, I got a bigger bag here for this. So we'll slide that in there. Okay, so we're gonna let these rest and do a little breathing here for about a week, and then we'll come back and we will do a comparison of these 4 versions of Burley Morning Pipe pressed. See you then. I want to open these up, I want to pack these pipes, and then we're gonna smoke through these together and see how everything turned out. See if I can tell any difference from the pressing. Let's start with the 2023 Burley Morning Pipe, and I'm going to use the exact same pipes in the exact same order that I did in the original comparison video back in January. So these were originally 10-gram plugs, and I sent half of each of these to Gary. I weighed them out. And I look forward to hearing his thoughts on those. I just responded to his video that I'm recording this today so that he's aware, and he can have his own tasting before he listens to this, or he can watch it as he pleases. So this should be enough for maybe 1.5 bowls or so. A standard pipe bowl is roughly 3 grams of tobacco. A cigarette is roughly 1 gram of tobacco. And yeah, that's about right. That's a nice pack there. So I've got plenty for another bowl. If I feel that this is inconclusive, this might be something that I play around with more. When I am rubbing things out, I really like using a piece of paper, and I just give it a nice crease, and it makes transferring back into a container very, very easy and clean. You know, if I'm dealing with a ribbon cut tobacco and I'm packing a pipe, I'll use a tray. But this is what I've used for a long time because I didn't always have a tray. This was my original solution. So this is the 2024 going into the orange stem Missouri Meerschaum Legend. It is March. It is March Meerschaum Madness, and I think I'm gonna, maybe get a pass from the block Meerschaum smoking and smoke something with the name or the word Meerschaum in the name, Missouri Meerschaum Pipes. So staying within the March Meerschaum Madness with, kind of bending the rules a little bit. I will admit, I have smoked briars, just not on camera. But I usually get one bowl in my block of meerschaum. If I have a smoke that day, that is. I will reach for that one first. Last night, me and my wife hung out here in my smoking room and watched a show, and I was able to enjoy a bowl of the American Cherry Vanilla that Papa Bear sent me as part of some GAW winnings, and that was a very pleasant smoke. It was not as flavorful as I was expecting it. It's a very reserved. Again, sophisticated is a word that I keep using to describe Gawith Hogarth blends. Leave it to the English to be sophisticated. But it is not cough syrup cherry. It's a very, it's really just a hint of cherry on what are obviously quality tobaccos. It burns very well. I did enjoy a very slow smoke with that, so I did not get any sense of tongue bite from it. It was a very pleasant experience. All right, so the 2025 is going to go into the Cobbett Shire. This is one of my favorite pipes. Did a VR recently for Leaf and Briar's giveaway. That giveaway, time to do a VR for that giveaway is still open, I believe. So if you have not yet done a VR for Leaf and Briar's 100 and 200 subscriber giveaway celebration, go check him out. His GAW video is easy to find. Watch it, understand the rules, and get your submission in. Anyway, in my VR to Leaf and Briar, I informed him that this is my favorite looking corncob pipe. And these are my only 4 corncob pipes that you see here. The Legends get the brunt of the work just because I can clench them while I'm working, whereas these longer stemmed ones definitely require me to be not working at the computer. I can't clench these. So if I'm watching a show, again, here in the office with my wife or something, I'll pull one of these out. If I'm wanting a long smoke like we're watching a movie, that's when I'll pull out the Elf. If we're watching a TV show or something more short episode format, I'll pull out the Shire. Excellent. I'm glad I have enough for one more bowl of these. Not that I'm going to smoke 2 bowls on camera here with you today, but it will be a good experience for another day. My daughter turns 18 tomorrow, and her friends are planning a surprise day for her. So I'm expecting them to arrive any minute to pick her up. So there may be an unfortunate cut here while I'm doing this. Hopefully not. I'm almost done with packing these. But we have a great day planned for her tomorrow on her birthday. Her friends are kidnapping her today and trying to surprise her with a few things. So it'll be fun to hear how that all goes. Okay. All right, here we go. So, Ken Byron Ventures, Burley Morning Pipe. 4 ages, pressed for 2 weeks, and these have been sitting and resting for another 4 weeks. Not that that was the original intention, but that's the way that life worked out. But as we all know, tobacco likes time. All right, I'm going to spin the camera around and we're going to light these up and see what we think. All right, and we are back. So let's go ahead and light these up and see what we think. Starting off with the 2023 Ken Byron Ventures Burley Morning Pipe. There we go, lighter. Flame's a little high on that. Hand forged tamper, made by Doug, the Michigan piper. Okay, so whenever I press something, just my initial impression is that it's sweeter than what I remember it being unpressed. And for my palate, that's what pressing does to something. It makes it a little sweeter. Haunted Bookshop, for example. You press Haunted Bookshop, it comes out a little sweeter than it was unpressed. I actually really enjoy home-pressed Haunted Bookshop. The Haunted Bookshop cake doesn't taste any different to me than buying it loose, and the Haunted Bookshop cake is twice the cost of the loose. So I'm going to buy the loose, press it myself in a spaghetti press. Smooth, like it's smooth as a baby's bottom. So the 2023 is the version that Gary enjoys the most. It agrees with his body chemistry. He can smoke it. The others, they don't agree with him anymore. And it seems like either there are Virginia components in it, he's sensitive to Virginia, or the casing changed in some way, and the acidity profile, the pH profile of these later blends is different and doesn't agree with him. But this is just a very smooth, burly smoke with a slight sweetness to it. Every time I smoke it, all I can think about is black coffee with sugar. A great smoke, great morning smoke with a cup of coffee, which is why they complement so well. Just the sweetness profile is a sugar sweetness to me, not a fruit sweetness, not a cream sweetness, a sugar sweetness. Because you still have that earthy, nutty, kind of coffee undertone to it, with a sprinkle of sugar on top. Great blend. Anybody who has Burley Morning Pipe in their cellar is lucky to have it. The 2026 is a different recipe. If you haven't noticed that, go check out the Ken Byron Ventures website and actually read the description. And he explains how the recipe had to change because he sourced components from Sutliff, and Sutliff is no longer around. So 2026 is the most noticeably different of the four. All right, let's go to the orange stem. This is the 2024. And I'm going to cleanse the palate with some black medium roast coffee. Just neutralize the palate. Here we go. So the 2024 and the 2025 just have a Virginia note to them. I believe Stilly Papa Bear said he contacted Ken Byron Ventures and they swear that the components hadn't changed from those years. But again, sourcing, quality, casing treatments on those may have been different. So I get a much more Virginia profile from them. It still has the burley. It is a base burley blend. That same sprinkle of sugar on top is there, but there's just this bright Virginia note to it. They all light very well. These lit up perfectly. When you press an aromatic, you'll notice that there's a lot of juices that come out of it because you're pressing out some of the topping that is used. At the same time, you're infusing it deeper into the leaf. But there is always some spillover if you're ever going to press an aromatic. Just be aware that it'll get a little messy. So with this, there's almost kind of like an Irish cream note to it that I wasn't getting before when it wasn't pressed. It's a slight change in the sweetness characteristic with this one. That's interesting. Now, again, this is younger than the 2023, so Again, how much of it is aging, how much of it is components, toppings, sourcing, quality of the leaf used, grading of the leaf. I admire what the small blending houses do, but they've got to have a hard time with sourcing. Their sourcing is going to be a lot less inconsistent than the big houses, because they can't buy in those massive bulk amounts and then store them in warehouses for years. I look forward to trying a lot more of the small blenders that are popping up. I have very little experience. This is, I believe, the first Ken Byron Ventures blend I've ever tried. But I've heard a lot of great things about him and his work. Okay, let's put this down and try the 2025. Again, cleanse the palate here. Make sure that's set and ready to go. This one's even, just a slightly. Again, it's a younger version. Kind of getting that Irish cream note to it. Still very nutty, burley undertone. The sweetness on top, like sugar sweetness, is definitely there. So I actually think the flavor profiles are a little easier to uh, notice after the pressing. If you have some, try it. See what you think. Uh, I wish I had more time to play around with these. I could do the loose versus the pressed. It's just a lot of camera time that I don't have right now. I honestly don't think the difference is enough to spend the time pressing, is the thing. Um, a slight difference doesn't justify the time waiting. I mean, not that waiting for a tobacco press is that imperative, because, well, I have plenty of other tobacco to smoke in the meantime. But there's prep, there's cleanup. And I'm very curious to see if Gary notices any difference. Uh, if I had to guess, I don't think he'll notice a difference with the way that it interacts with his body. which is unfortunate. I did send him back the remaining amount of the 2023 that he had sent me because, you know, if he loves this stuff and that's the one that he can enjoy, he's the one that should enjoy it. I have plenty of the 2024, 2025, and a little bit of the 2026 left over, and that will last me plenty of time. Yeah. So yeah, still very burly smoke. Just there's a Virginia hint, and it's coming through as again, it's a sugary sweetness to me, but I'm picking up almost like an Irish cream note to it that is very nice. And I wasn't getting that kind of that note when I was smoking it loose. I was definitely getting more of a, you know, burly Virginia sugar sweetness with the 24 and the 25, whereas the 23 is just burly with some sweetness. Um, so I really don't know what's different, but they are different. I'm not saying that they're bad. It's just different. If you have it, you'll enjoy it. You wouldn't notice it unless you were trying them side by side like this. But if you have the 23, 24, 25, and then you get some of the 26, you will notice a difference. It is a different recipe, and that's what we're going to move to here next. I wish I had prepared. I'll put it up on the side screen. Actually, the side screen is going to be over here. What the 2026 recipe says that it is. I do believe it is. You know, there's a an Irish cream or an Irish whiskey, some sort of an alcohol note to it. But it is the most different to me. The 2026 unpressed was coffee with cream, not coffee with sugar. Um, so it was kind of the sweetness you would get with a cream, which is a lot more subtle, right? Let's light it up. This one also had a more tacky feel to it when you touch the tobacco. It was the messiest coming out of the press. There was a lot of juices that came out of it. It's different. The topping is definitely present. It's very nice. Now this tastes like coffee with a good amount of Irish cream in it. There's a sweetness, but it's different than the sugar sweetness in the others. Still an amazing morning smoke. It's the burly undertones there. But this one just has a creamy note to it that's very nice. Now I'm wondering how Burlier Morning Pipe is different from these. That'll be a fun experiment one day when I get my hands on some. If you have ideas on the difference between Burley Morning Pipe and Burlier Morning Pipe, put it in the comments. I'm very curious. All right, so which one of these four was my favorite? The 2023 is my favorite, I will say. Smoking them side by side, that one is the most pleasing to my palate, but that doesn't mean that any of these are bad. Just, you know, if all of them were available and I could pick, the 2023 is what I would pick. But if you can pick up some of the current version, the 2026, it is a wonderful smoke. If you have a sensitivity to Virginias like Gary does, you may want to just start off with one bag. I believe he sells them in 2-ounce increments. Try that. Make sure it agrees with you first before you start cellaring up on it. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of alcohol toppings. They tend to have a quality that is a little off-putting to me. I'm not saying that this one does. This one's actually very, very smooth. Barely noticeable, but it tends to hit my sinuses a little harsher when there's an alcohol topping or casing used. I got to be more gentle on the retrohale with them. It's definitely the case with this one. I can feel it just hits me right here instead of a little higher up here, and it just feels a little harsher back there. So this has been a really fun experiment. Gary, thank you again for sharing these with me, and I'm really curious to hear what you think about these 4 different pressings. Unfortunately, I highly doubt you're going to be able to still smoke and enjoy the 24, 25, and 26, but it was worth a try, right? So we'll leave it at that. Remember, life with a pipe is better than without. Bye for now.